Hi, I'm Greg Hunter, and this is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, October 19th, 2012. The big story, round two of the presidential debate. Listen, Obama brought his A game, no doubt about that. I got to give him credit where credit is due. But I got to tell you, I think Romney edged him out. Basically, with all the body blows on the economy. I mean, he was hitting with the 23 million, underemployed Americans, record numbers of people on food stamps, 47 million. The economy is not growing at all. The budget deficit doubled when he said he'd cut it in half. So on those points alone, I think Romney edged out Barack Obama. But Obama was way, way, way better. Now, that said, there's a few questions I would have liked to have asked at the presidential debate. For example, the Fed is printing $85 billion each and every month, half of which to bail out the bank's sour mortgage debt that they created themselves, incidentally. Do you support the Fed in what it calls open-ended QE, or money printing? Both candidates would get all these questions. Next question, not a single financial elite has been prosecuted in the wake of the financial meltdown. There were 1,000 prosecuted in the savings and loan crisis. That was 70 times smaller. There was massive fraud and criminal activity on many levels. Would either of you investigate and prosecute if elected president? Finally, both of you supported the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA as it's commonly known, that allows for indefinite detention of American citizens without due process. Would either of you reverse this constitutional atrocity if elected president? Just to let you know, too, so there's no debate here, because the mainstream media tried to say, oh, no, that's not what it means. In the president's signing statement, he said he could indefinitely detain Americans, but he wouldn't do it. And incidentally, the American Civil Liberties Union, as liberal as you can get, called signing that document for the president a stain on his presidency. Now, those are questions that you're never going to hear at these debates. And this, particularly the $85 billion a month, this is unprecedented in not only American history, but unprecedented in human history to print this much money, and not even going to get a mention, not even a passing question about it. That's unbelievable. Another thing, the Libertarian Party and the Green Party candidates weren't invited to the debate. The Green Party candidate got arrested outside the presidential debates, but that's neither here nor there. But neither were invited to the debates. They're on the ballot. Both these candidates, presidential candidates, are on the ballots in most of the states. I think they should have been invited, but of course they weren't. Well, there's more frightening news out of the Middle East. I mean, I'll hit the highlights here. In a little more than a week, the U.S. will have 3 carrier groups in striking distance of Iran. Meanwhile, the Iranians launched a sub and a destroyer in the middle of, U.S. and, NATO naval exercises to practice on removing mines in case the Iranians mine the Strait of Hormuz, which, I think 20% of the world's oil travels through, in case the Iranians mine that in case of an attack. Now, a lot of folks out there say, oh, Iran hasn't attacked anybody. But, I got to tell you, Iran doesn't help itself. It sponsors Hamas in the south, Hezbollah in the north of Israel. They fire rockets into Israel on a weekly basis. They support terrorism. Then they basically get in the middle of a naval exercise in an international waterway. They're not helping each other. They're not helping themselves with this kind of action. And I don't know if they're testing the naval forces or whatever, but I'll tell you one thing. If a war is started by accident or on purpose by either parties and plenty of blame to go around, it will be a global catastrophe. There will be no winners. You talk about the financial economy imploding, it'll be on crystal meth. It'll implode so fast. If the Strait of Hormuz is blocked and war breaks out in the Middle East, that's for sure. Also in Syria, the New York Times is reporting that, basically that America is arming the Syrian rebels and jihadists through our surrogates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. Isn't that what we did in Libya? We flew 20,000 sorties. We had, basically, it was widely reported that a lot of the rebel fighters, and including some of their leaders that we brought there, were Al-Qaeda. And now in Syria, the jihadists, you can insert Al-Qaeda. What kind of a foreign policy are we running? That's just unbelievable. Google had an earnings miss, a hiccup, and this shows you how volatile the stock market is. I mean, these big companies like Google, has to have these big growth rates, and they have, like hundreds and hundreds of dollars a share on their stock. They lose 8% in a single day, more than $55, and it just shows you how volatile the market is. On top of that, the Google did earn $14 billion. I don't think they're going to go out of business anytime soon, but just goes to show you, even companies like Google, the darlings of the industry, can be at risk for some steep sell-offs. The government released, retail sales numbers for September here in October, and hey, retail sales up 1.15%. Good news? Not really. And the reason why it's not, if you factor out inflation, and we do have inflation with all this money printing, that accounts for about half of the sales increase. And also, if you factor out the seasonal adjustments, well, how much did it really grow? And this is the reason why a lot of people don't trust government numbers. And the mainstream media regurgitates these numbers like, hey, that's the number. And don't even look at it. How dare you question the government? How could you question the government? That's what media is really supposed to be all about. It's supposed to be a government watchdog. And people like Jack Welch with the unemployment numbers, say, hey, it's nonsense, that the unemployment rate goes from 8.1 or something down to, 7.8, boom, just like that. That's not real. And it's not. And how they're doing the numbers is pretty opaque, not very transparent. But the mainstream media gets behind this, and here's the USA Today. And sometimes they do good work, but most of the time it's embarrassment. I used to work for Gannett years ago. Now here's USA Today Monday, right? This is the Nation's News. It used to be the Nation's newspaper, and this is the opinion section. Okay, they gave two views, but I want to give you an insight in using their words into how they think. And in their view, they say, well, the numbers are compiled by professionals, not political appointees. And this is what they say in their op-ed piece. This is the view of the journalist here at USA Today. And it says, critics have more thoughtful than Welch, who's a former CEO of General Electric, have long complained about the flaws in the system. It underrepresents people who have quit looking for work and overrepresents those with tiny amounts of part-time work. Okay? So they admit the system's bad. They admit that this is a lie. Well, those are well-known problems, but whatever the flaws, they are consistent. Wow, they're lying to us, but the lies are consistent. Then it goes on. This is the meat of their organization, or their argument. Then it goes on to say that data is compiled by professionals, not by political appointees. They are a non-partisan scorecard. Really? Who do you think appoints the labor secretary? That's a cabinet position. Who do you think oversees the Bureau of Labor Statistics? That'd be the labor secretary. And they're saying, oh, well, we know they're lies, but the lies are consistent. And, nobody would ever rig the system in an election year. And both Democrats and Republicans, I don't care who's in the party, would rig the system. But this passes off as journalists, their opinion. This is the opinion of the paper. The lies, we know they're lies. We know they're flaws. They call them flaws. We know they're lies, but the lies are consistent, and nobody would ever lie even further in an election year. Unbelievable. This is why the mainstream media is consistently losing ground. People can't identify, exactly what's going on, but they know things smell. And that's why they're seeking other sources. This site and many others that are as good or better than USA Watchdog. That's the way I see it. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com.